Hey, what's up, lightboltjoe here. Today we are going to discuss the 2021 horror film, The Forever Purge. This is the fourth film in the Purge franchise. This takes place March 21st, 2048, came out July 2nd, 2021. So this was written by James DeMonico, produced by Jason Blum. The team's back together. James did not direct this one. I forget the guy's name who directed this. So this is 8 years after the events that happened in the Purge election year. Purge election year was March 21st, 2040. The Forever Purge is 8 years later, 2048. So the NFA is back. They were voted back into office after Senator Charlie Rowan was elected president, got rid of the Purge. Her 8 years were up. NFFA member was reinstated as president, and which is not actually named who the new president is, but they reinstate the Purge. So this is the first Purge. This is the first Purge after it was banned. You know, I'm not actually 100% sure on if this was the first Purge after it was banned, or if this was like the second or third. I think it was the first Purge after it was banned, because mathematically it's a 4-year presidentship, but you're allowed 2 terms. So 2 terms later, Charlie Rowan is out of office, NFFA member is back. Okay, so the Purge is back, right? We're in El Paso, Texas. We're in a city outside El Paso. We're in El Paso, Texas. So it's nice to see, like, rural purging versus city purging, which we get in the first, second, third films, no, the first film is suburban. The second and third film is urban, city. Then we get urban in the first and second season of the TV show, which is an incredible TV show. And then now we have rural. So it's nice to see different ways of purging, if that makes any sense. This was scary. This was scary because and I had to look this up. So this came out July of 21. It was supposed to come out July 2020, but it was postponed because of the COVID-19 pandemic, right? Everything was shut down, couldn't go to the movie theaters. So this was filmed November 2019 to February 2020. I specifically looked up all these dates because of what has gone on in real America versus what has gone on in the fictitious Purge future. In November 2020, we had the next round of elections, right? Every 4 years is a presidential election. So with Biden winning the popular vote and then winning the electoral college vote, he won the presidency. And Donald Trump's, I can't think of a word, repugnant mess, fan base, sure, was convinced, because various news programs were saying how the election was stolen, but it wasn't. Then you had various senators and various congresspeople, and a lot of political figures were riling up the uneducated base to make them believe that it was stolen, but it wasn't. And then on January 6th, 21 is when the insurrection of the Capitol happened. You know, many police officers were killed. Many damage to the U.S. Capitol, literally invaded because of white nationalism. It was horrifying to watch it in real time, but it's still being investigated. It's so strange. Like, there's that things, right? Politics. You're an elected leader. You can't, if you do anything that opposes your vow of, you know, upholding the laws and rights of the Constitution, then you're not qualified to hold office. So why are these people still in office? It's very strange, right? Things are going on in America behind the scenes. It's very weird. But the insurrection was January 6th, 21, right? The plot of this film is literally about an insurrection. It was filmed a year prior. If it was filmed a year prior to 2 years prior, technically. If this was filmed November 19 to February of 2020, and then the insurrection was January of 21, this was filmed technically year and some prior. It's very scary. It's scary because the insurrection in the Purge is that people want to purge forever. So there's a rise up of a specific faction of insurrectionists who are creating the Forever Purge, the Ever After Purge. And they say the two words, both, back and forth, Forever Purge and Ever After Purge. I personally like Ever After Purge. I think it sounds better. But the Forever Purge works just as fine. Whatever. So they're taking over the different cities. They're taking over the different... Anyone who opposes them is an enemy. And then the president of the NFFA, who is the president of the USA in this particular timeline, initiates martial law. There's a lockdown on all the borders. The Canadian prime minister and the Mexican president are allowing Americans to flee the border. And then the borders are closed indefinitely for a certain amount of time. But things kickstart, and like our main focus is on this group of people, white folks and American citizens from Mexico. And so the paths come together because they all kind of work together. But like there's hatred of this one white guy towards, you know, the Mexican folk because racism, of course. But they all have to work together to survive. So it's interesting with the whole, we're all in this together. If we want to survive, put the differences aside, we're going to survive. Their goal is to cross the border, but how do they cross the border when all this insurrection is happening, when all this martial law is happening from the actual government versus the insurrectionists? Crossfire, death, murder, action sequences are pretty cool. And then getting help from a native tribe to cross the border on a reservation to get into Mexico. It's just so crazy having the tables turned of, you know, real time of you hear about this border wall, this, and that border crisis, that. And it's like, well, people are allowed to claim asylum. Refugees are allowed to claim asylum. It's part of our laws. So you can't deny them asylum because of your racism. It's not how that works. Like, it's weird. So to have the tables flipped, and that was the initial point of this movie, to have the tables flipped and have the Americans seek asylum in Mexico, to have Americans seek asylum in Canada. We didn't get the Canadian side of it. We only got the Mexican side of it, the El Paso border, which was a pretty good hour chunk of the film running through the streets of El Paso. Nice. It felt like a video game at certain points. I really liked it. And then eventually everybody, you know, who did survive is happy that they're surviving. There was a pregnant woman in the mix of all of this. Does she have the kid in America? Does she have the kid in Mexico? Like, what's going to happen next, right? But, like, it's just scary because a lot of the Purge films are very reminiscent of what happened or is happening presently within the country. Different political movements, different ideologies, different rebellions against corrupt governments, things of that nature, right? Never has a Purge movie predicted what's to happen. So to have it be filmed November 2019 to February 2020, it was supposed to come out July 2020. It wasn't. It was postponed to July 2021, but the insurrection on the Capitol was January 6, 2021. To have it filmed a year prior to the insurrection happening, it's just so weird, because then the movie comes out 6 months after the insurrection, and people who don't know how movies work are like, oh my god, they're making fun of the insurrection. No, they actually didn't, because this was written over a year prior to the insurrection. You have to realize scripts have to be approved and edited and created prior to a film being in production. It has to be written, it has to be approved, budget has to be completed, you have to have storyboards, you have to have panels, you have to have, you know, locations, all these different things. A lot of it has to go into pre-production before the actual production starts. So for production to be from November of 2019 to February of 2020, a lot of time, so that means they were writing it months prior to November of 2019. So for that to be written roughly a year and a half prior to the actual insurrection, it's very scary. Very scary how James DeMonico's mind works, because he's been so poignant on the horror aspect of present American culture, the racism, the gender inequality, the fiscal inequality, how poor people pay more taxes than rich people. Like, it's been established in numerous things within the first, second, third film, within the first and second season of the TV show, and now within this fourth film, there he is showing what happens next in America, and it happened. And it's so weird. I'm just so creeped out by it. I love this franchise so much. I will always love this franchise. I have my beautiful Purge mask. I have the Purge siren as my ringtone to wake me up in the morning. My alarm. I keep my phone on silent. it's my alarm to wake me up in the morning. So imagine waking up every day to that. It's great. Get you out of bed. It's just very strange to me. It creeps me out, and I can't. Now, this was supposed to be the fifth and final film, but because the TV show ended, they want to do plot points now of what the third season of the TV show would have been in the sixth film. Something with like exploring the worldwide version of a purge, like a purge in different countries rather than just in America. Granted, now we're in Mexico, but like, what happens next? So, what is the new America going to look like? What is the other? Are the other countries going to be partaking in the purge, or are they not going to be partaking in the purge because of the insurrection that happened because of the Forever Purge? What happens next? Very smart. The man's a genius, and when the way he writes these stories, it's just really cool, and it's very interesting because these films get a lot of hate because of the writing, but you got to pay attention to the parallels that are happening in real time. That's the point. It's a full analogy of what America is. It's disgusting, but it's a beautifully well put together story. Absolutely love it. On to the next review. Mucho mahalo.